Okay, AMD news. Rumors are pointing towards a flagship 16-core Ryzen 3000 series chip being released for its mainstream AM4 socket platform, which AMD promised would be supported for 3 generations. So Zen 2 might be the last gen supported on first-gen AM4 motherboards, but prospects of so many cores available on a common platform could mean conflicts with AMD's high-end Threadripper platform. A 12-core third-gen Ryzen chip could very well outperform a 12-core first-gen Threadripper one like the 1920X. Threadripper would be made redundant below the core count offered by the new Ryzen. Threadripper motherboards cost about 3 times as much Ryzen ones do. So from that basis alone, you can kind of see my point. Bottom line, Threadripper is still for serious business, but at a premium for like the 24 or more core parts. That's what I'm taking from that. Low-end Threadripper, old Threadripper stuff is just going to be matched by what the hell the new Ryzen 3000 are going to be able to do. Okay, Zach, what are you going to say?
16 core, 32 hyper threads. But one of the things that I heard was they never actually planned to do the Threadripper series. It was actually came as an afterthought to put pressure onto Intel.
Yeah, the article I was going through, it did say that. It was just like some stopgap in between. Like they didn't want to put as much into it as, their EPYC processors. So it was just something in between. Like originally they just wanted Ryzen and EPYC, and then they just kind of put in Threadripper as an afterthought in the middle. And now Ryzen has had so much success. High-end Ryzen is going to kind of get to where Threadripper is right now. Okay, more AMD news. There's evidence from AMD's latest driver update that the RX 550X could be getting a rebadging to become RX 640. I gotta say, these graphics cards are kind of garbage.
They're old. They're irrelevant, and yeah,
they're just really low spec, low profile, no power pin. These are okay. Yeah, I'll get okay. Navi is slated to have the RX. Navi is slated to have the RX 3000 naming scheme, leaving the 600 series to be the last of Polaris cards going out in a whimper. I recommend just ignoring these for now. You want to look towards stuff that's going to be Navi based and RX cards. They're the 600 series. They're just going to be rebadged, which means it's not going to be like any kind of refinement or refreshing of it. It's upping the number.
So rebrand,
rebadge.
Now, I think we mentioned this like last week or the week before, but we're expected to see a Navi card that's generally on par with the RTX 2070 for about $330 some coming in the next couple months, right?
That's what AMD is aiming for. They're aiming for Vega 56 performance for 200, 10% better than Vega 64 performance for 250, and then 270 performance for 330.
2070.
2070. Okay. And this is like best case scenario.
True. We don't have hard details or anything right now, and we won't until the last week in the month when Computex hits, which me and Ed will probably be doing a open forum discussion like we did last week with the Avengers when that happens. So keep an eye out for that.
NVIDIA's news. NVIDIA could be planning a refresh of their Turing GPUs later this year to better compete with the impending release of Navi. By September, it would be the 1-year anniversary of TX 2000 series being launched last year. The main point of the refresh would be bumping up the clock speed, the VRAM from 14 gigabits per second to 16 gigabits per second. Whatever they plan on rolling out from a refresh, they will have less room to mark up their products, boasting ray tracing capability. An excuse for the markup. So hopefully we won't be seeing cards that are obviously $100 to $200 more expensive than what we kind of perceive they should be, because Navi is going to be really, really competitive. I mean,
I'm excited to see how the landscape changes in the next few months for hardware components for PCs. I'm expecting a huge shakeup, and I'm honestly really looking forward to it, considering I've been looking to build a new PC for a while now.
I mean, Ryzen 2 years ago was just massive. Ryzen forced Intel to increase the core count. Finally, after like 5-7 years of
Of quad cores.
quad cores being mainstream, they upped mainstream being to be six cores is mainstream now, which is all thanks to Ryzen.
Eight cores is mainstream now, for at least for Intel, because most of their, I think even all the way back to the i5s now have quad cores. But yeah, they've been, I mean, octo cores, not quad cores. Yeah.
It's a subjective term. What's mainstream? To me, I see mainstream as just being six. Like when I say mainstream, it's like if someone asks me, oh, what kind of PC should I have right now, and it's like just get like a 6-core Intel or a 6-core Ryzen.
Well, I mean, now we got flagships, flagship Ryzen 3K series right around the corner. That's 12 cores with 32 hyperthreads, or the AMD equivalent of hyperthreads. So it's going to be interesting.
It's all about the price. I just don't. I wouldn't recommend anybody get a CPU that's over, I want to say over $220, unless like they're really going to be doing
depends on
taxing
the use, your usage. It all depends on your usage. For really somebody like me, I'd probably I wouldn't need a 12-core processor, but I wouldn't say no to a good octa-core processor, because streaming takes up CPU, and then on top of that, you want to add VRAM if I'm streaming a video game or recording a video game, and on top of that, you want regular RAM too to handle the non-video game processes and the multitasking that goes into doing a production like this, or a production like any YouTube video or most Twitch streams.
I mean, just like the 6-core Ryzen, 6-core 12 threads, just when that happened 2 years ago, like that kind of performance, I want to say back in like 2015, 2016 would have been like $500 plus. Okay, and then Ryzen happens, and you can get that 6-core 12 thread performance for like I said, like $200 more or less. It was like half or less. That was so nice when that happened. Intel.
Intel's in shit again.
That is a running theme. We have always great things to say about AMD, bad things to say about Intel, and NVIDIA is kind of wishy-washy. We kind of like AMD a lot, and we kind of like badger NVIDIA because they're greedy sons of bitches. But it's just bad news for Intel again.
Okay. Intel's just been having bad luck one turn after another.
Although it's not really going to affect most people, surprisingly. Lines of Intel CPUs from 2011 until now have been found to have a security flaw called microarchitectural data sampling, or MDS. That's a technical term
Yes.
for what's happening. The security flaw. Okay. The catchier term it's going by is called zombie load. This does not affect AMD products, so just more bad PR for Intel and more good for AMD. The zombie load exploit allows an attacker to have access of privileged data across boundaries on a network. It can be used for app surveillance and password acquisition. It broadly affects most operating systems running on Intel chips, including Windows, Android, Linux, Chrome, and Mac OS. That's kind of everything, really. Just visiting a sketchy website could potentially trigger problems if this didn't get patched. And the thing is, there wouldn't be any sort of news being announced. This would be so like tight-lipped. Companies that are trying to patch this stuff, they would be incredibly tight-lipped about this until they were already really in the process of fixing it, because they wouldn't want to let this out of the bag, so then people could start exploiting it. It's like by the time you find out about this, it's probably already
Fixed or almost fixed.
Yes, they're in the process of doing it. If your CPU doesn't use hyperthreading, you shouldn't notice any difference as patches to your OS rollout. Most day-to-day workloads still don't utilize HT threads, so basic things won't change, even on dual-core 4-thread processors like so many previous generations of i3s. I'm hearing about a 3 to 9% range of performance hits from processors, the lower being if hyperthreading remains enabled. All I gotta say is always keep your devices up to date with security updates to avoid more problems. And if you just keep your stuff up to date, it should roll out to you. Like on Windows PCs, one of these like security. In fact, I think it must have been on the 14th. I got a Windows update, and I bet it probably would have included something.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I had a forced update as well around that same time.
I have a feeling it was related to this.
It most likely was, because forced updates aren't too common unless it's an essential fix for something. So if I had to guess as well, I'd say you were probably right, and that it's related to this.